The movie begins with a young girl named Sil, who wakes up in a sterile laboratory environment. Surrounding her are scientists who observe her closely. They gas the cubicle, but shortly after, Sil breaks the glass and runs away. She runs out of the lab and jumps through the fence. Military cars and helicopters follow her, but she managed to escape and get on a train after stealing clothes from a homeless man. She stole some luggage and she got back on a train. She stole accessories from the train. The authorities found the body of the man she attacked. Xavier tells the others to track her down themselves because they couldn't risk letting the police know. Sil is shown experiencing a terrifying nightmare. She wakes up from her dream. She gasps in terror and begins to see bumps all over her body. Then, a snake-like thing starts coming out of her body. The government assembles a team of anthropologist Dr. Stephen Arden, molecular biologist Dr. Laura Baker, and mercenary Preston Press Lennox to track and eliminate Sil. The train conductor comes to Sil's compartment on the train. There, she sees a creature, but before she can react, the creature swallows her. Xavier Finch addresses the team of Dr. Stephen Arden, Dr. Laura Baker, Dan Smithson, and Preston Lennox. Xavier explains that they received a message from an extraterrestrial source containing instructions to combine alien DNA with human DNA. This resulted in the creation of a hybrid organism named Sil. Despite attempts to keep Sil isolated, she exhibits rapid growth and distressing behavior, leading to anxiety and nightmares. The team decides to terminate the experiment, but Sil escapes and becomes a predator, killing a transient. Preston summarizes the situation as creating a monster from outer space DNA and being tasked with hunting it down and killing it. Dr. Laura suggests capturing Sil alive for study, but Preston indicates that their mission is strictly search and destroy. The team arrives at the train and discovers the body of the train conductor who appears to have been killed by Sil. Preston comments on the severity of the situation, noting the crushed throat of the victim. Dan senses Sil's fear and hunger, indicating she is scared and eating a lot, likely storing calories for something. Laura observes what appears to be a chrysalis or a cocoon, suggesting that Sil has undergone a transformation and is now fully grown. This revelation makes the team realize that Sil may have deceived them by appearing as a child when they initially searched for her. Xavier Finch informs the team that their laboratory, Visitor Base 1, is being relocated to empty virus research labs at the university. He instructs everyone to check their rooms and gather out front in 15 minutes. Laura suggests processing the evidence collected from the train and proposes attempting to grow Sil, the creature, only using its own DNA this time. The team is investigating the evidence they got from the train. Suddenly, the camera breaks down, so Laura and Preston enter the containment chamber to replace the broken camera. As they work, a bolt drops and falls through a grate. Meanwhile, they notice that the specimen they were studying is only growing larger, meaning a breach in containment. Panic grows as Laura and Preston try to retrieve the bolt while the specimen grows rapidly. While stationed outside the chamber, Xavier hesitates to open the door, fearing the unknown threat. Laura and Preston plead for him to let them out, but he remains hesitant, unwilling to risk the facility's safety. Despite Laura's efforts, they soon realize the creature is not dead. With time running out and the threat still present, Xavier refuses to open the door, strictly sticking to protocol. Finally, Dan pushes the button, and they get out, and Xavier burns the room. Sil uses the credit card she stole from the train at the hotel, and Xavier was notified. He calls Preston to let him know. If you think Sil made a classic mistake by giving out her location using a credit card, subscribe to the channel. Sil then goes to a club. As she's talking to a guy, a woman comes and hugs him. She follows the woman and kills her. The team comes to the club, and he told them he had suggested a club. They all went there and they found the dead body. At this time, Sil was leaving with a guy. The guy takes Sil to his house. She suddenly changed her mind and asked him to drive her back. The guy says no and tries to force her, so Sil kills him. The team arrives at the man's house and discovers his lifeless body on the floor. They speculate about the circumstances surrounding his death. They discuss Sil's behavior and motives, concluding that she may be trying to mate and reproduce. Laura suggests that Sil may have rejected the man due to her special senses, which could detect genetic defects or diseases that would make him an unacceptable mate. They find evidence suggesting that he was a person with diabetes, which could have made him undesirable to Sil. Preston decides to put out an ABP on the man's car. Sil is driving around the town with the car she stole from the man she killed. Then she gets out, and as she's walking, she gets hit by a car. In the hospital, as the doctor treats her, she sees it healing. But before he could say anything, she gets up to leave. The guy who took her to the hospital saw her and asked her if she was okay. She asks if they could leave, and then they go to his house. When the team arrives at the hospital, they find that the man who brought her there had paid her bills. They used his credit card to track him down and call him. At his house, Sil and the man are in a hot tub. They hear the phone ringing, but Sil stops him from going out. Then the team arrives at the house, and when he gets out to check, Sil pulls him back and started to push him down in the water, drowning him. Sil escapes, and the team discovers the lifeless body of the man. Come on, Sil, you need to chill a little bit. If you think Sil will have another victim in this recap, then subscribe to the channel. Further investigation reveals no evidence of semen in the hot tub water, indicating that Sil likely didn't manage to mate before they interrupted her. Sil kidnaps a woman before forcing her to take her to her house. The team awaits for Sil in a nightclub, but she knows they are waiting for her. As Dan is outside, Sil approaches him. He screams to notify the others, but she drives away. They start following her and call for backup. The car goes downhill, but Sil jumped out and wasn't hurt. She fled from the scene and stole another car. You must admit, Sil is slick. The team has blocked the road to contain an incident involving Sil. Xavier instructs the team to inform the press, but advises them to withhold the truth. During the chaos, a thumb is discovered, possibly belonging to Sil. Xavier instructs the team to take it to the lab for genetic identification. Xavier reassures everyone that the situation is under control and congratulates them on their efforts, thinking she is killed in the crash. Later that night, the team is at their hotel. While Laura and Preston are dancing, Preston notices a blonde woman and becomes suspicious that it might be Sil. Laura reassures him that Sil is dead, but Preston remains unconvinced, feeling that Sil may still be alive. Laura encounters Sil in the hotel bathroom, where Sil asks to use her perfume. Unaware of Sil's true identity due to the change in her appearance, Laura agrees and gives her the perfume. After Laura returns to her room, Preston decides to follow her. Sil, now with a different hair color, follows Preston into the elevator. Preston exits on the floor where Laura's room is located and knocks on her door. Laura listens outside her room and hears what she interprets as Preston and Sil kissing and giggling. She sees a woman open the door and gets into a room to change sheets. She gets a key and gets into Steven's room. When Steven comes, he sees her standing there. She bluntly says she stole the key to his room after seeing him downstairs, and she takes off her clothes. Amazed by her confidence, he lets her be. Dan senses Sil's presence in the hotel and rushes to inform Laura and Preston. Despite Preston's claim that Sil is dead, Dan expresses his unease and shares his disturbing vision of Sil being with Steven. Laura and Preston are incredulous, but Dan insists he felt the woman in Steven's room. When asked if he knocked on the door, Dan confirms, but is uncertain about what Sil might do. As they continue to discuss the situation, Dan reveals that he hears Steven and the woman engaging in sexual activity. Sil reveals to Steven that she senses a life beginning within her, prompting his laughter. However, his pleasure turns to shock as he feels movement in her stomach, indicating the reality of her statement. In a sudden and violent turn, Sil quickly kills Steven. When the team arrives, they witness Sil's escape as she breaks through a wall. They chase her to the basement and see another dead body. The only way is through the sewers, so they follow her. Sensing she was under the water, Dan stayed behind as the team investigated. Sil attacks Xavier and pulls him down. The team comes to see the dead body of Xavier. Dan leads them to where Sil was using his ability to sense her. Preston and Laura chase Sil after hearing her jump into the water. They follow Dan's guidance to a cave-like structure. where they discover Syl giving birth. As they navigate through the cave, they witness the birth of Syl's offspring. The newborn creature demonstrates surprising agility by getting up and walking shortly after birth. Hungry, the newborn immediately targets and consumes a nearby rat. The kid is growing at a fast pace. Dan encounters Syl's offspring but is attacked by the creature. Syl intervenes, telling Dan to defend himself by using a flamethrower against her. However, the flames fail to do any harm. As Syl focuses her attention on Preston, using her tentacles to choke him, he manages to break free and shoots her. The impact of the bullet propels Syl into a nearby fire, causing her to fall and ultimately leading to her end. Syl, despite being destroyed in flames, manages to pull Dan towards the fire as Laura and Preston attempt to pull him back. But Preston shoots her and she falls to the fire again. In the final scene, the team has successfully killed Syl and her offspring. A rat is shown chewing on one of Syl's severed tentacles. Suddenly, the rat begins to mutate before turning on and killing another rat nearby. With this, the movie ends. Thank you for watching the recap. Like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next episode.